Welcome back, everyone. We are going into our third session for our virtual Coach You of 2025. I'm happy to introduce our dream team here today. They're going to be talking about personas, perception, and positive change. This is actually part two from a webinar that we did a few months ago. It was very, very well received, and everyone was asking for more. So here we are. I'm going to introduce our panel today. Leslee is joining us again. Leslee Coutinho is a dedicated professional with over 7 years of experience at Answer Plus, where she currently serves as the assistant manager. Starting as a customer service representative in 2016, she demonstrated a strong commitment to growth and leadership within the company. She was born and raised in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and she combines her professional acumen with a vibrant passion for cooking, where she creates innovative dishes for her friends and family. Outside of work, she has a rich background in the arts. She's been active in dance and music, and she's also participated in a traveling show choir during high school. Next, we have Neetin joining us. Neetin has been working with on-call center or in the call center industry for over 14 years, where he brings an excellent amount of customer service and management experience directly related to the communications industry. He currently works at on-call center as the assistant call center manager. He believes that people are the most important part of any organization and its success. Neetin loves writing and recording music and hanging out with his wife and his kids. Saja Rachid is joining us today. She's a dedicated professional with a strong passion for helping others, backed by years of experience in client services. Currently serving as the administrative assistant and the call center trainer at On Call Center as well. She has successfully taken on diverse responsibilities, contributed innovative ideas to the client service program, and she's played a key role in managing unique client accounts. Saja also honed her coaching skills, guiding agents to achieve high performance. She thrives on challenges and is committed to personal growth, enjoying self-improvement books, and she loves to travel in her free time. We have Michaud from I-24. She was formerly in charge of training and quality control, and now she's a lady of perpetual organization. I think that's always been a thing for Mia. Mia organizes all aspects of the operations to ensure all staff and clients' inquiries are being answered. She loves to be able to wear many hats, and being operations manager offers her just that. Outside of I-24, she's a mom of two, an amateur cook, and a coffee enthusiast. So thank you guys for joining us today. Neetin, when you're ready, you can go ahead and share your presentation.
Great.
Away we go.
Thanks for that. And thank you for the great intro for all of us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Erica.
All right. Can everybody see my screen? Should you see a lot of smiley faces and sad faces and all of that?
Yep, we
A
see
lot
it.
of emotions.
Yeah, a lot of emotions or personalities, we should say. All right, everyone, welcome to part two of our personas, perceptions, and positive change. This is, like it says here, a panel and a presentation on supporting different personalities in your office. For anyone that has attended our first session, there will be a little bit of repetition, but we have a different twist on it for you. But we also wanted to make sure that anyone that is seeing this for the first time also had an idea of what we were working with and what our approach was last time. So that being said, I'm just going to jump into our table of contents very quickly on what we'll be doing. So first, we'll just do a quick overview of personality, generally speaking. This is just going to outline things that we used as our approach in building this presentation and working through the panel for you. Then we're going to revisit a few of the personalities we had talked about in our last presentation. We'll give you a bit of a Coles Notes for anyone that's attending this session for the first time. And the other thing we're going to do is look at how they've progressed in these particular scenarios with these particular personality types. Following that, we're going to talk about what your role is when you're doing this kind of work and supporting team members, focusing on their personality and their approach. Then we're going to ask for your help to build one together, just so you can walk through this sheet. We do have a sheet that we'll share with everyone. I'll share it over to Erica. We have done it in the past as well. So that anyone that's attending today has that with them. They can add it to their their toolbox per se, and hopefully it helps you in building your team and building team members up. And then finally, we'll jump right into a panel where really there's an open forum for us to talk about different scenarios, successes, failures, and just share ideas with each other and get feedback from us presenters today as well. So that's our what we'll be doing. I'll jump right into the personality overview, and I wanted to start with a definition. Obviously, there's different definitions based off different schools of thought, but we thought this one really generalizes and hits home. So it's really the combination of characteristics or qualities that form an individual's character. The big thing, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, is that, it is a combination of characteristics or qualities that form someone's character, but also the settings can also change a person's personality. And that's really a lot of what we're going to be talking about when we're moving further into our panel. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up is just going back to that is our personal personas versus our workplace personas. So one of the things we need to realize is that personalities, like I said, can be different in different settings. So, work versus home. At work, you may be, have a big list. You make sure you tackle everything on that list every day. You follow up on things. You're, really on top of everything. But at home, you're carefree and you're like, I have work at 7 a.m. Let's go to the town 2 hours away from here and get back just in time for work and then be right back on point again, right? So we can be totally different people in different settings. And we can also be different people with different people. So that's another thing for us to really think about when we're working on our team members and working with personality to try to see how we can support them. We have to realize that uh, people will be different with their best friend versus an acquaintance. They may be more difficult with a police officer who's giving them a ticket than the judge that they're going in front of to have the ticket passed and not have to pay that fine. So these are just things to keep in mind once again. Uh, to get the best from people, we really need to understand and acknowledge we can be different at times, like I said, and we have to find the comfort a person feels in their personal persona and bring it out in their workplace one. That's really the big task for us here. And also, again, just to go back to that previous point, that we can be different people at times, even in the same setting. So we might have this person that jumps on and they're taking all their calls really well, and then they go for lunch and they come back and all of a sudden they're just not doing all the same things that they were doing before. They're not as consistent. And then that's on us to figure out, like, did they have a bad lunch? Did they have a bad phone call? Did their supervisor change? Did they have a tough call right before that one? What external factors could be causing this person to all of a sudden act differently all of a sudden when they were amazing? And then just basically, again, going back to getting them into their comfort zone. How we do this is really by getting to know our team members and changing our approach for them. So it's not just like you have to do it our way. There obviously are things that are company policies and company rules and targets that we have, but can we change how we teach? Can we teach how we motivate? Can we teach how someone gets to a point where they feel like and that they're an excellent team member? Uh, Personality types, we're not going to go into all of these. We do touch on a few of these today, but this is just a list of some different personality types. And like the one I mentioned earlier, you have someone who's a perfectionist or maybe ambitious at work, but they're very carefree at home. So again, you can be different people in different places. So it's just something for you to keep in mind while we're talking about this and having this conversation today. That being said, I'm going to jump into our first personality, which will be presented by Saja. Saja, I'll hand you over the perfectionist, and so you can let us know how flawless Tessa is doing.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks, Neetin. Okay, so we're just gonna take a quick minute to revisit someone familiar for those who were here in the last session. But if you haven't met her yet, I'm sure you'll find, a piece of Tessa within yourself. Okay, so let's meet Tessa, the perfectionist with a purpose. She is she executes every task with precision, pushes every project to its limit, Her standards are sky high for herself and everyone around her. And yes, she delivers results, but behind these wins, we find that there's so much burnout, stress, and a growing feeling that things are not right. Okay, we'll move on to the next slide. Oh, sorry. First slide again. That's just my intro. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so Tessa's highly detail oriented with uncompromising standards. She does strive for excellence, not just in her own work, but we find that she does that with other people's work, especially like on her team. This drive, while admirable, it also makes her self-critical and at times very intense and overwhelming to work with. She tends to take things personally, especially when it comes to feedback. She gets very defensive. And one of her most used lines is, I can't settle for less, for anything less than the best for herself and her, those who work with her and around her. Okay. So with that being said, how does this show up in her day-to-day work? So Tessa often scores very well in calls, um, but during coaching, she defends her actions with an unlimited amount of justifications, even when the feedback is clear. She sometimes blames the system, scripts, the weather, Mercury retrograde. And while she follows process closely, she occasionally misses the real need behind the customer's ask. What we saw wasn't resistance, it's just personal disappointment. She holds herself to a certain standard that is very high, and anything short of that, she takes it as a sign of failure. Okay. So now you may wonder, where is Tessa today? She is still working through her perfectionism. She's not there yet, but the progress is real.
I
Through
think
on
Saja, maybe I think we're on how we engaged. Is everyone
oh
seeing that screen or am I on the wrong? Okay, okay.
oh perfect.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. So with how we engage with Tessa, we did help her reset her expectations. We provided guidance and through one-on-one connections, connects with her, as well as recognize her contributions and benefits of being part of a team. Okay.
There's my sweet girl.
Oh, hi. Okay, perfect. Now we go to where she is today. Tessa is still really working through her perfectionism, but she's still, like on that path. Through ongoing connects, she becomes, yeah, sorry, I was just checking. Through ongoing connects, she becomes more open to feedback. Now she shares proactively, especially around things like script updates, where she used to show frustration. Most importantly, she started to value the coaching process, and that shift has helped her build trust, not just with leadership, but with her team as well. I'd just like to conclude with saying that Tessa's story isn't unique. Many high performers struggles to balance drive and well-being. The key is not to dim that drive. But the key and our role in it is to guide it by meeting people where they are and offering steady support, making feedback feel safe. We help them grow in ways that benefit both of them and the team around them. I do have questions that if you guys can write them down, we can bring back later when we open the floor. I just want to know if you can write down, is there somebody on your team who pushes for perfection, but might need help balancing that drive? And my second question is, how can we better support high achievers in a sustainable way? And I can write them down in the chat for later as well. Okay, perfect. I think that's Mia.
All right. Well, for me, it was the uninterested Cleo contrast. It is not me, but it is some a combination of different employees that we've seen in the past. So to kind of go back to what we presented last time, Cleo is often detached. She comes off different, almost like she's bored whenever you get to get together or you try to call her. She lacks enthusiasm, and it results in her being less, well, she doesn't really have a lot of empathy, or she just doesn't want to engage with others, whether it's customers or her colleagues. Productivity and attention to detail was low, and we found out that she was very often doing the bare minimum. Whenever we would try to coach her on that, it would often come up as, I clock in, I clock out. I'm just doing like bare minimum, just doing my work. So she was not really engaged in the company culture either, and more than anything, the way that she would see it is, I mean, it doesn't really matter all that much. Now, day-to-day indicators that we do have in uninterested employee is, first, she was trying to do the minimal work on the call. She would often skip questions or steps in the process, which we all know it often leads to mistakes. So then came the chronic errors, or sometimes you can even have someone that doesn't make errors, but that they think they're too good to make the mistakes. So very often I would have her tell me, well, I don't need to confirm the last name or the phone number. Like, I know how to take them down. Like, I'm a good listener. And then you would listen to the phone number and, oh, no, it's actually not the good one. So they often sound disengaged with callers. They use unprofessional or too friendly language, tone, slangs. And for this specific employee, she had lots of attendance issues, a lot of late, especially coming back from break, never necessarily at the beginning of her shift, but a lot from break because, well, what are you going to do with just like 2 minute lates or 3 minute lates? They didn't think about the other people or other colleagues that needed to go on break after them. Now, we decided to come up with a plan for Clio Contrast, and this is how we decided to engage. We decided that personalized motivation strategies were the way to go. We needed to be very clear with our expectations and the feedback that we were to provide. And we decided to promote and do some workplace environment adjustment to see if that could work. And we decided to offer her some empathy training with the help of Chemex, Coach You, past sessions, or just like webinars that we could enroll her just so that we could try and see where the gaps were. Now, where's Cleo, sorry. Cleo is not the perfect employee yet, but she has improved her scores. She knows exactly the expectation and the feedback that she is to receive, and this helped her a lot in knowing exactly where she was going and knowing exactly what was expected of her. We've decided to allow a hybrid model. And so this created life balance for her. So she is more engaged because she doesn't want that to be taken away from her. And although she does fall back at times, it is our responsibility to check in constantly and make sure that it is constant improvement, and it is not just a one-time thing. We're not just going to have like a one check-in, it gets good, and then suddenly because I forget to check in, she goes down. It is our responsibility to constantly check in and make sure that she is on top of things. And then by integrating things that she liked, she's built better relationships, she engages in team projects, and now she potentially has, well, the potential to become a mentor in the future because we've seen a lot of growth in the way that she works, but also in the way that she shares with others.
Neetin, I
So,
think you're muted. Oh.
did you have a point, Neetin, before we? You're still muted, but that's okay.
Sorry, y'all. I'm not sure why I was muted there.
All good.
Yeah, your presentation isn't up anymore. There we go.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just putting it back on.
Okay, perfect.
There we go.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So Leslee, go for it in terms of going with the harmonizer and giving us an
Yes.
update on Jerry.
So my employee type was the harmonizer. I told Neetin, Mia, and Saja that I've climbed the ladder at Answer Plus here, but at the same time, I very much related to this personality type. And I also feel like there's a right way and there's better ways to coach these individuals. So I came up with the character Harmonious Harry. So a quick little recap about this type of employer, this employee type here. Harry's warm and empathetic and an individual who excels at creating connections and fostering collaboration. He's got attentive listening skills and makes others feel very valued. Here's the kicker with Harry. Likes to avoid the difficult conversations, so is super happy to be involved and make people feel good. However, when it comes to some of those more difficult conversations or, harder, more, I would say harder conversations to have, that's where he struggles. And even myself, I can say like I did previously struggle with that as well, because you don't, at the end of the day, like you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or leave somebody feeling a certain way after a conversation. Ultimately, while Harry's harmonizing nature enriches relationships, it can also hinder his ability to address conflicts directly. And I'm sure all of us know what it's like when we watch a conflict that kind of keeps getting brushed to the side, brushed to the side. That's kind of where you can run into the issues of maybe enabling specific behavior with employees that we don't necessarily want. However, we're not too sure how to approach it at this point because we've let it go for so long. So now it's even more difficult to kind of come back and work on that. At the end of the day, the goal of the harmonizer is they just want everyone to be heard. They want everyone to feel validated, and they want everyone, to feel important and good about themselves. So some day-to-day indicators with the harmonizing type personality. Very pleasant on the phones, extremely engaged with callers, and straightforward on straightforward calls. However, when they get the difficult caller that is insisting on, when they've got the difficult caller that's insisting, like, you're going to do this for me right now, and if you don't do this, there's going to be problems. I need to speak to your supervisor. I need to do this. I need to do that. And you're going to do this all for me. Harry knows his steps are to take a message, to try to de-escalate the caller, validate their frustrations, but there's no need for any escalation. However, this is where Harry really struggles, because Harry's like, I don't want to make them upset. They want this. I'm going to give them this. So it's teaching Harry how to push back in a professional way that still leaves him on top with what he is doing, but not necessarily putting himself down in the process of trying to, do the right thing. Again, unfortunately, can also provide inaccurate information and not follow process just to appease a frustrated caller. Again, I'm sure many of us have had those types of callers where, they have said all of the things in the world and then some to you. And, it might be as simple as, oh, yes, no, we do handle these types of situations, or, oh, no, we don't handle those. But just in order to get through the call without having a meltdown, you just agree with them. And meanwhile, a client might come back and go, hey, why did you promise this? This is not something that we do at all. This is a problem. And again, Harry meant no ill will with that, but now we're going against other companies and their standards and everything else. So those types of personalities, again, it's just, we've got to show them in a proper way that, yes, we can be positive. However, we need to be firm with our level of professionalism and where we stand with what we can and cannot do. Again, we'll seem agreeable to change on the surface, but again, when faced in a stressful situation, sometimes that's where we're going to see that pushback. So how we engage and how I've found that would be the best way to engage, again, this type of personality. Start off with some role play situations, get them off the phones and just pull them into a Zoom meeting like we are right now. Go back and forth with tough situations. So whether I'm sitting here and I'm the bad guy, or Neetin's on the other side and he's the bad guy trying to, pressure me into pushing me into the harmonious side, but then me using my coaching skills to go, okay, hold on. Let me back up a second here. We want to work on like the call control and all of that as well. So just kind of creating confidence with these callers and showing them, hey, yes, right now the caller seems to have control. However, as the call taker, we need to regain that control in order to keep this running smoothly. We've discussed different techniques, phrases, and approaches to use when you're dealing with difficult caller situations. We provided call control and management techniques that also balance empathy with reasonable call handling, because again, we answer for a very wide range of clients. One could be a nursing home. The next minute, it could be a doctor's office, a lawyer's office. You've got to be able to change your tone in a quick way in our industry, obviously, to, meet the needs of your callers, but also still provide an excellent level of customer service. When coached, we did it with empathy to ensure the tough conversations didn't hurt their feelings, but they also understand why we have to have these tough conversations, because it's an even tougher conversation if there's a loss of a client due to the fact that we don't feel confident to deliver what is promised from our clients. So where's Harry now? So good thing about Harry is he's managed to improve his call control with talkative and language barrier calls. He's finding his confidence, however, still has challenges with irate callers, but he does continue to try and use techniques. I'll kind of put an example out there where I've noticed that Harry might put calls on hold a little bit more often because he's trying to gather his thoughts and not just instantly say what he would like, what he would think the caller would like to hear. He's stopping, pausing for a moment, thinking, okay, what have I learned from this? What is the expectation here? And how can I best put both of these together and deliver this news to my caller? His reaction time to think better on his feet is getting better with the role play and just with constant call examples and coaching. And he also appreciates getting the support that he needs in order to allow him to be adaptable here. Again, this doesn't happen overnight. These are coaching areas that I'm sure all of us have seen with employees. And I think the main goal here is that, touching base, going back to that agent, not just meeting with them once, once in a month, maybe touching base weekly and checking to see how things are going, maybe pulling some calls and listening. Okay, how did they deal with this situation? Okay, this is good. Let's give them some positive feedback. You don't just want to sit there and either only reach out when there's bad or reach out when there's good. You want to keep a clear level of your expectations as well.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Leslie. I know this person just hits home for me as well. I definitely feel like I was this kind of team member as well. So yeah, a lot of this stuff here is very realistic to do with someone like a harmonizer that really can change their approach to how to manage calls. So I think that was awesome. So we're going to jump into very quickly how it works and your role as a leader when you're working in something like this. So one of the things Leslie touched on is, and Mia as well, I think as well, is consistency in working with them. Whoever you're working with, you have to have consistency in doing it. It can't just happen for 1 or 2 sessions and then it's by the wayside and you don't think about it again, and then the challenges reoccur. As you can see with the team members that we made up, we still tried to be realistic. It wasn't the perfect scenario. It wasn't like we did all these things to engage with this person and now they're great. They're great at everything. All of them still had struggles, struggles with getting back to, center, if we want to call it that they would stray from the things they had learned, the techniques they had learned when maybe something new presented to them, or they fell back into those old habits because they had one call that was tough. So consistency with them and talking about those things really helps them know they're supported and keeps them accountable as well at the same time. So remember that if you take it on and do it consistently with them, the more, and they say this with math a lot, they say this with sports a lot, or anything you do, what people that do it at a high rate and at a high level of excellence, is repetition is the key. The more jump shots you put up, the better you'll get at it. The more fractions you do, the better you'll get at it. So it's the same thing with our team members. The more time we can spend with them to give them the repetitive practice of doing something, that's really what's going to get them there. So once you've really identified these personalities, you've identified how they'd like to learn, you've identified their pain points and their great skill sets, you really want to make sure that you check in with that consistently until it's no longer technique for them anymore, that it's now just habit. And habit isn't something, generally speaking, that's going to happen in 1 or 2 sessions. Habit's going to happen over a long period of time. And that's not to say there aren't some that are just going to flip a switch and do it. But by consistently checking in on it, like Leslie said, by consistently doing the work with them, it helps them change and reform how they manage in the workplace. And that's really the goal with the team members when you're doing this type of work. Second, set an example. So if you're the supervisor and they hear you being frustrated with a caller, they hear you hang up on a call and complain about a caller, these are all things that are creating that energy in your center that indicates to your team members that maybe need that support, that it's okay to act like this. Even the after call moments, it's not to say we shouldn't be human, but they can compound over time. And it can create scenarios where the culture changes because you feel like that all the time. We have to set the standard ourselves. We have to make sure that we can score 100% calls, that we can manage any irate caller situation, that we can adapt to scripts when something strange happens on them. We can adapt to a language barrier or whatever else it might be. The things that we're coaching, we need to know that we also can do them at an expert level. Because once we can do that, we can, one, support the team member, but two, we set an example for them to say, hey, here's an example of a call I took where this is what I did. This is a technique I think you could really use. Because I saw some scenarios here where you weren't using it. So remember, you set the example, you create the culture. And it's not just it's not about company culture. Sometimes it's just a supervisor culture, right? You might be the supervisor that gets frustrated very easily, and you put that on the floor. And it might just be a moment of being human, which is totally fair. But at the same time, we also have to realize that we're leading, and if we don't lead by example, then our team doesn't have something to follow as a standard. Third, understand that there's going to be setbacks. Without fail, like we talked about, there's going to be moments where they go back to their old selves, per se, for lack of a better term. And that is okay. The key is that, are you seeing a consistent progress? Like they're moving up a little bit, drop down a little bit, moving up a little bit, drop down a little bit. But are you seeing a trend that they consistently are getting better? Even though they have these small moments, and as long as hopefully nothing is too dire, it's not an extreme moment, but it's something like them just getting, used to and creating that muscle memory and that habit, like we talked about, then continue on with them, help them, let them understand that, we get this happened here, but look at all these other great things you've done. Like Leslie mentioned, those positive moments should also really be acknowledged, because it will help lessen those setbacks and create more gaps in those setbacks. And eventually over time, you'll see much more consistency, and they'll just be at that high altitude and they just continue to stay there. It's just like a plane, right? It's rough up and it's rough down, but when you're up and cruising, you're generally okay with some minor turbulence, right? And that's really what this is. It's just about that habit. Understand, when all of this is said and done, that one of two things will happen. You'll have a better team member, or you'll have your answer on their long-term future. And this is sort of a harsh reality of things, but someone's going to get better, and you may be happy with that result where they are. They're performing at an adequate level or exceptional level. You as a supervisor, you as a company are okay with that. That's great. You understand where that person is. You also, and that's their long-term future. They're okay with where they are. You also may discover that after all this work, this person just doesn't want to change. This person is not reciprocating the effort that you're giving back, and unfortunately, it's leading to, warnings or multiple coachings about the same thing, and things like that. That may be another indicator to you for, a different type of conversation, unfortunately. And that's something we have to keep in mind too. Like the tools we're providing here, the ideas we're sharing with you, they're there for us to try as a different technique, an additional technique to all the things we already do. But when all of that's said and done, sometimes sadly the answer is that this person may not be someone who's a fit, and we have to always be mindful of that as well, sadly. But like our goal when we're putting all this effort in is that team members take this feedback, they put the effort in that we're putting in, and that they improve because that's the success story we want. And that's the success story I'm sure everyone here that's on the phone wants. We want our team members that may not be performing at the level that they could, the potential that they have to get there. So we want to be mindful of that. And I think a short or midterm goal that to always remember with these team members, which is great to keep in mind, is if they can become mentors of that thing that they're struggling with, then you've won. And so you can test that by during these coaching sessions. Okay, now teach it to me. Now teach me how to deal with this irate caller. Now show me how to manage this call with a language barrier. Okay, tell me something you don't like about what I do. Because have those tough conversations like a harmonious Harry. Like I'm sure he'll be able to say it in a diplomatic way, but at least he'll be able to say it. So it's about challenging them to teach you so that they can become mentors. And if they can become mentors, then what's really going to happen is their trajectory changes. Like now they have a position of maybe being a supervisor or a lead one day. Maybe they have this idea fulfillment from teaching people now. And that means they're going to start setting a high example as a CSR themselves because you've done that for them. So really keep these things in mind whenever you are helping a team member, whether it's this way or any other technique. The next thing we're going to jump into very quickly is just mental health awareness once again, and I'm going to pass it over to Mia because she does just a great job of speaking about this.
Thank you. Yeah, so this slide, it was actually the one that we presented last time. So for the ones who are there, you already know this, and I've come up with a few tips and tricks, just a few tips that you can actually apply that doesn't cost anything, that can actually help you promote mental health within your team. And the first one that I would like to tell you, whether you're a team lead or a manager or anything, you have to be able to model a healthy behavior. As a leader, you need to be able to model it so that your employees know that they can follow your example. And by that, it means setting boundaries, making sure that you are always taking your breaks. It's just that easy. If you are constantly setting your boundaries, like healthy boundaries, for example, not constantly working after your shift, you are taking your lunch, you are taking your breaks, you are setting the example to your employees that they can also do that. They don't have to constantly skip their breaks to do extra work or stuff like that. Two, recognize effort and not just results. I know that we constantly give feedback and we do a lot of training in hopes that, the performance will be better, but it's really good, especially for mental health, to highlight the efforts that someone is putting in and not just the 100% call. And last but not least, I'm sorry, normalize the breaks. I know that sometimes, and I know that I'm being on breaks, but I was promoted as a manager in a time where breaks were not such a big important thing, especially when we were busy. So if we had a whole lot of calls, like say it was crazy outside and we just knew that we were going to be extremely busy all day long, it was very common for the previous person that had my chair to just say like, oh, we're gonna have to skip the breaks. I'm sorry, guys, we're gonna have to push through. And when I came in, I thought that this was so unhealthy. And I mean, I've had to cut my breaks several times. And the only thing that it leads to is poor performance and people that are under the weather and they're not feeling great and they're not performing. And technically, it's not even good for the callers that, sure, they may have been picked up slightly faster, but they're getting an irate or someone that just cannot handle that many calls anymore because they didn't get a breather. So normalize checking on your employees and making sure that I don't know how your team is handling breaks, but for my team, it's our team leads that are making sure that everyone takes their breaks. And it's really, really important to make sure like, hey, don't forget to take your break. Your break is at X time. Don't forget to take it. It's important. And it's just tiny little gestures that you can do to make sure that your team feels supported. For sure, what is on the screen is still very valid, making sure that everyone is managed. Like, you have to understand that everyone is managing something outside in their personal life or something like that. It is okay to know the difference between personal life and work life, but sometimes there are just things that will overflow to your like to your professional life, and it happens. We're all adults. We all have something. I'm sure that there's a lot of parents on here, and if something was going to happen to my kid, trust me, I would come into work, but it would probably show. And I mean, it's always good to have someone be understanding towards your situation and help you guide you through it. The next thing is try to look for ways to support people. And I mean, we've talked about different personalities, and it's the same thing when it comes to mental health. Not everyone likes to talk about mental health, so you don't have to openly talk about it constantly and put it in front of people's faces. You can just check in, but be genuine about you checking in. I know that a lot of people are working remotely, and it became very popular to say good morning to everyone, which is great. I love that, but be genuine about reaching out to people. Don't just say like, "Hey, how are you? How's work?" Try to actually take the time, like even if it's like 2 minutes and it's not necessarily your entire staff that you are doing it every single day. Check in, be genuine, and ask, so how are you doing? How's the kids? Like, what did you do this weekend? Try to bring up conversation and see how people are actually doing. These are just very tiny things that you can do to make sure that you keep your mental health awareness way up there rather than just forgetting about it and constantly thinking that it's just, oh, well, they can call the EAP program if you guys have one or something like that. It all starts with us. We work with people, and it's a people business. Technically, the product that we are offering is technically people. It's a people business. And if we don't think about mental health, then it's going to go downhill very quickly. So just something to think about and make sure that you always have that one in check.
Awesome. All right, we'll because we do want to make sure we get to the panel, I will open up us doing this quick engagement sheet here. One moment. So we wanted to walk you through what we sort of have been doing with our these personalities, and what we wanted to work with you all on the phone today to quickly make one up. We won't spend a lot of time on it because I do want us to get to the panel, but it shouldn't take more than a few minutes for us to do. Does anyone here have a personality type that they feel they're managing at work right now? You don't have to give us the team member's actual name. This was like our flawless
email address.
Yeah, and we can use my name as the name no matter
You
what.
always do that. No.
So that's fine. But any personality type that comes to mind that you're having trouble with supporting?
Like characteristics.
I see one in the chat. It looks like Nicholas just wrote uninterested.
Okay, uninterested. Great. And I know we covered that a little bit as well. So uninterested, so that's great. So let's talk about the team member quickly. They're uninterested. What are they doing that's making them uninterested? Like what do you see from them that's saying like this is an uninterested person?
In what sense? Like in the
Yeah.
job or in the task or in learning? What does that look like?
Also, you can please take yourself off mute if you'd like to speak. We'd love to hear from you.
Not taking feedback seriously when it comes to call evaluation, disregarding them.
Okay, so not taking call evaluation seriously, ignoring them.
Can we add in there like questioning eval criteria? Sometimes I've had them say to me, "Oh, well, why do they need that?" Like, this is what the client is asking for.
Right.
Like I promise you it means something.
Right. Anything else? Like how are they with attendance? How are they with getting back on time? How are they with other team members?
Well, if they're bad with attendance and they're ignoring the evaluations, why would we keep that person in the first place, right?
Yeah, and
So
that could be.
Maybe their valuable trait is that they're on time all the time and they cover for people. We have people like that.
I was
Yeah.
thinking that, David.
Sometimes they take great calls too. Like they're really good on the phone or with clients. They're just bad with superiors and coworkers.
Yeah, so some good calls.
Mm-hmm.
And then
One
we could
thing
put
that I've
down.
seen in the
Good.
past is people that manage to score extremely well and consistently well on scores, but have an incredibly negative attitude towards everything
Mm,
that surrounds work. So as long as you don't have somebody sitting next to them, throughout the day, if you're only reading reports, not at work here, but at other call centers, if you're only reading reports, they can stay within the organization for 2, 3 years, and can basically just poison, everybody's attitude toward work and toward them because nobody want to work with, you know,
mm,
these individuals. But if you're trying to bring that up to your manager, the only thing that they go back to is, they score 100% in their last 3 evals.
mm.
And
They get the
yeah,
job done.
Right, right. And I'd love to come back to that for our panel, actually, like the fact that
okay.
as supervisors, we see, someone who's creating a very poor culture, but our management may not see
Mm-hmm.
that they're creating a bad culture because they look at the scores and the data says otherwise, right? So that's definitely
Mm-hmm.
a great one for us
They don't
to
share
talk
the
about and
same.
ask you to bring that back.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered a bit, and some of these are here. So like bad attitude, some of their core traits.
Um,
Yeah, go
can I
ahead.
suggest a name for this guy? It's gonna
Yes,
be Toxic Tom.
I like that. And then this is no offense to any Toms that may be on the
Sorry,
call.
Toms in the world, not directed at
Toxic Tom.
anything.
So again, core traits, uninterested, creates a bad culture.
I was just going to say Michelle also had just noted, and I think it's
Yep.
kind of covered in the ignoring evaluations and the day-to-day actions, but also ignoring changes in process and
Mm.
scripts as well. So that's something I think it's very well
Yeah,
worth noting.
ignores
Uh,
changes.
yeah, ignores changes or process.
Great.
Rogue.
So now the big question is we understand
Oh,
all the
coming
things that
back
this.
late from break, actually, and they can be frustrating for the person following them. Yeah, I mean, if you don't follow, like instructions, you're not gonna do it. Everything can get away with it sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we have this idea of who Toxic Tom is, how do we engage with Tom? What do we do to make him better? And if you have good examples you've used, like let's use that. If you're just making them up, that's fine too. But what would you do to engage with
I
someone like?
can I can take a guess, but I don't know. Should I be doing it? Do you guys want to get a chance to speak as
Yeah, for
well?
sure.
I mean, I'll go first. I would think very strong boundaries.
So set boundaries and expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Great.
great.
Okay. Now it's all you guys.
Well, I think you could explain how their attitudes is affecting the other employees or things like coming back late from their breaks, things like that.
Great point, Mike.
Yeah, so explaining their impact on the culture of others.
One thing I've found is the person that chooses to engage with someone who's uninterested can dramatically impact how the person responds to that engagement. So by having someone that they have a relationship with or someone that they trust have that conversation, it could be better received than someone they don't know.
That's really a good point. We've seen it work at I-24, so that's a really good one.
But if you go according to this person's personality, they'll probably, after getting a couple of notices, they'll probably just stop engaging with people in general, and just
Also true.
keep a distance. Just to be like, okay, you don't like my attitude, then I won't even talk to you
Mm,
unless I have to, you know?
Right,
David,
yeah.
That's a
yeah.
great point,
I
David.
feel like David and I know the same person. We're talking about the same person. Straight to the point. Yeah, I mean, some of the ones I've worked with in the past, they totally shut down, because now it's like, oh, you're on their team too.
I think
I'll say this.
Yeah.
This was me 20 years ago. Just so you know, it is. I feel like it is possible to change
Thank you.
eventually. And I would say that creating a relationship with somebody that put it in my face at some point to actually say, no, this is who you are being right now, and this is not acceptable. And me seeing that person as a mentor at that point, as well as a friend, is what woke me up
Beautiful.
eventually.
Thanks.
I think also pointing out specific situations, like when somebody asked them something and then they responded in a way that hurt the person, you could say, well, when you said that, that person felt that you were being X and X. When you explain in detail, I think this type of person would understand more. They're like, oh yeah, I am being an ass, you know? It's true. Because I would feel bad too if someone made me feel this way.
You're completely right. I feel like sometimes they don't understand that their actions and their words have consequences, you know? So yeah, I agree with you on that point.
Yeah, so these are great points. And again, I will share this sheet with you. It's the value of this we found is that it helps you just break down who the individual is. Like what do they seem like? What are they doing at work? What's their day-to-day like? What are things that they're doing that that don't align with their company criteria or the company culture? What are some good things they're doing so that you can also share some positives with them in terms of the things that they do really well, some core traits that they have, and what steps you want to take to help them get better. And sometimes these things might be in the form of like a performance improvement plan. So it depends on where that team member is, and having this list of items that you're going to work through with this team member can be helpful. So we will share this with you. We will share the one that's filled out that shows you all of this like nice and neat. But I'm glad that we all did get to walk through it a little bit, just so you have an idea of how to look at an individual a little bit differently, not just call scores, not just data, but just them as an individual and saying, okay, well, this is what they're like here. And then we've had a lot of people in our lives at work where you love them outside of work. They're so great outside of work, but for some reason, when you're at work with them, they're just not where they are out there. And it's like, hey, where's that person? Like, I want that person to work with me in here. So that being said, I'm going to stop sharing my screen actually and just jump into our panel portion. And I wanted to open it up to you all. Like, I guess the first question, maybe just to start us and get us going a bit, is any of the people that maybe were in the previous sessions, did you use any of these techniques or that potential sheet, if you did that engagement sheet, to see if using a personality approach would help? And if you didn't, that's okay too, but it's just a question to sort of open things up for us. And if not that, just any personality related approach, as opposed to, normally going to your data and normally just going to call scores, but actually looking at the individual and saying, okay, let's talk about what's going on with you.
I think I was just going to comment quickly that I think this is really good because it separates the behavior from the person, and behavior can always improve. So it's not personal. It's not like they're evil people or anything like that. It's just that their behavior, and obviously everybody has gotten there through their own way and journey. So it's our role to get them to where they need to be, and that's at their highest potential.
Yeah.
Something to add to that too would be the why with the employee. Is it something personal or in their own life? Is this job their final kind of like lifeline before they're crossing the poverty line? Is there, something going on in that respect? And is that hindering them from being able to complete the task at hand with their job? And if that's the case, what can we do to remind them that as much as it's not good that they're going through that and, we want to best support them, like there still needs to be that level of professionalism and collaboration if they do want to continue working with us. And I think just having that like very real, raw, blunt conversation sometimes really does go a long way. Because again, if it's something that we have within our control that we can help, that's one thing. And then I think also there's times where you can put so much effort into somebody and the saying like beating a dead horse or whatever, that like that thing of like sometimes people don't want to change either. But I think that the real big thing you got to do there is get to the root of the why in that specific person. And I think that from there you can then drive how you want to kind of approach the coaching methods.
Just a comment. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I see some comments in here. So I see Michelle had wrote, re-encourage with a positive comment statement through their negative statement, which is a great comment, Michelle. And then Lynn had also followed up with, how do you make them help care about their job, not just to collect the paycheck every 2 weeks, which is a fantastic point.
Yeah.
I think it's culture, and I think if anyone's going to talk about culture, it's going to be Neetin.
Yeah, I mean, I think culture is a big thing, and I think Leslie's why question is a great question because one is like, why are you maybe not performing at the level you want? And the question I ask my team a lot that I feel that's struggling sometimes is like, what is triggering you to not act this way? And I'm not asking them to share it with me because it might be too personal, but I always say like, what's triggering you to make you go off on this caller? Like, what is there something personal that's making you do it, or not? Like, and so that's the first why, and then the second why is like, why are you here? Like, is the paycheck fulfilling enough? Like, I think like Lynn, one of the things is to always ask those hard questions, and be a little direct about it. Is to say, if this is just a paycheck, no worries, but there's still a requirement to do it well. So, the paycheck is only there as long as you can do it well. So, it's like there's more fulfillment to this if you can kind of step away from this just being a paycheck. So I think those are a couple of good whys to ask. And then culture is a huge one, like Saja mentioned as well, is what is your company culture on engaging team members like this? Like, I can say at On Call, like we are not there yet, but always working towards it. Like we're working on volunteering stuff where we ask our team members what charities they would love to help. We try to do some stuff during the holidays. So it's like, create a why culture. Like, why are you on the phone? Because you get to engage with doing this back for your community. And that's a bigger question for your management sometimes. But, you can also look at those kinds of things that you may in conversation find out what's important to them. Like they may have 7 cats. And so now you could say, hey, okay, well, why don't we would you help me organize like us doing some work at a shelter like once a year? And just that small engagement may make them, re-up their energy towards like their work and where they're coming to, because that's going to become a core memory for them at work because they initiated it, they started it, and you helped them do it.
Yeah, and it's like, my work cares, so I mean it's only right that I care in return as well.
Looks like Mary had also put a comment in, and I think it goes off of what you were just saying, Neetin, and I think this is a good kind of segue. So Mary said, when they're remote, how do you get them engaged to care? Instead of thinking I'm at home, I can do whatever I want as long as I'm logged in, which is it's a good point. You're clocked in for your hours, you're there to do your job, but how do you foster that in-office culture in a remote environment, and how do you actually keep your team engaged?
I think Lynn's comment also like touches on that answer too. She says our culture is smiling, professional, awesome. We do a lot of things for our employees, celebrating birthdays, and work anniversaries, staff activities. Yeah, we do the same on call too. A lot of those. We have like different days, like International Coffee Day, Jersey Days, things like that, PJs.
I think to that point, I think the other thing as well would be, is it just via communication? Are we opening up maybe like, a personal Teams chat that everyone can engage in after work, where, again, it's hard to get sometimes that engagement that's not on work hours, but are we taking the time to maybe say, okay, for 30 minutes, there's going to be, group A, B, C, and D. Group A is going to join into the chat room from 12 to 12:30. It's just a social. Get to like have coffee with your employees together, hang out with each other, hang out with your coworkers, share those stories. I can see here. Oh, sorry, Hannah just put in here. What is the line between policing productivity? Oh, this is a great one, Hannah. What is the line between policing productivity and promoting appropriate work output when done remote? Anybody want to take a stab at Hannah's question?
I will.
Go for it, Mia.
I will. We've been at I-24, we've been remote since 2019. Well, ever since COVID started, we shipped everyone home and we never went back. And I don't plan on going back. I'm staying home. And I am a firm believer that if you train your people right and if you are on top of things, people can actually be more productive at home than at work. I know that I am saving so much time. I am like work-life balance has changed like 360. And we did face some challenges at first. I mean, I even have like this story that at the beginning, because at the beginning, we never really knew how people were going to work. And so for sure, we've had some setbacks where, for example, an employee decided to, and she's no longer with us, by the way, but she decided to put her caller on hold because she knew that she was going to have her lunch soon. So she decided to call in and order some Subway. And technically, the client was paying for that because she was placing the call on hold, and that's paid minutes. So anyway, so for sure there are people like deciding to do laundry between a call or something like that. And so we quickly saw that we needed to come up with a policy to work remotely. And we are very, very transparent from the get-go at what people can and cannot do. We are very big on security as well. So our employees have I-24 computers, and they are not allowed to use to browse just for fun, for security reasons. So we do check that. Quality control team does have to check that. We are not constantly on your case. Then again, Hannah, I don't know how your calls are being distributed, if they have to take them or if it goes straight away to your agents, or if you were talking more as an admin level, because I think that these are two different types of things. I know I have admin staff and I have call center staff, and I think that the two of them are very different. For my call center staff, it's my quality control team that will do a lot of what we do, what we call OPSI. So they will watch the agent live working to see exactly what they're doing during their time. We try to do that at least once a month to kind of make sure that everything is going well. We try to remind them that they are being observed at times. They don't know when. And that usually works really well. I haven't had any issues with our agents on that. What we did is watch statistics, watch disconnect rate, make sure that they are really hitting their target. Oh, 5 minutes. And then for admin people, we have to set goals. I mean, if your goals, and I mean, if you've watched Leslie's, you know how to set your SMART goals. But if your targets, if your objectives are attained, then no, I'm not going to be the police behind you as long as things are done. If things are not done, we'll have a quick catch up and we'll make sure that we can get them done. And then if we constantly see that they're falling short, then there might be an issue. But I think that you have to trust your employees as well. If you don't trust them, then there's probably something like underlying there that needs attention. So that's my take on it.
And one of the other things we started doing recently over the last, this year essentially, was being transparent with the stats, making sure that everybody knows everyone's stats, but it's still anonymous. So you get to see where you are against everybody else in the center, and then that is another thing that we saw numbers get better on their own because of that. We saw people saying, hey, why is my not ready so high? Or why is my wrap or after call work so high compared to everyone else? And so you start having those conversations. We found team members were engaging with us about making those stats better. So if if you can create a system like that, where weekly we send out stats saying, here's everyone's stats, everyone has an anonymous number associated with them. So when they look at it, they know, hey, I'm 15th out of 40 people or whatever the number is. How do I get to the top three? And then potentially you can incentivize that as well. And then, like Leslie said, one of the things we're dabbling with or thinking about right now, which we're trying to work through, is like online coffee breaks. So just we pick a topic, 3 team members randomly, they're in a meeting for 15 minutes, they get to connect on whatever that topic is. And it might just be like, what's your favorite animal? And it's meant to be silly because that way you end up saying, what a silly topic to give us. And then you start talking about an account, maybe you start talking about whatever else it might be. But you can do those small things where you just set up little 15-minute meetings. You can have an open monthly one where whoever can join joins. And then others, you can have them more structured, like a 10-minute coffee break. I think we are close to wrapping, and I know there is another session. So if there are any other questions for us, please feel free to send it our way or to Erica or Linda. I know they will pass it along to us. We're also more than happy. I think I can say this confidently with everyone that I presented with, like to spend some time with you all. If someone wants like a quick connect, half hour with anyone, just to pick each other's brains, we're more than happy to like be part of that and support you on that level as
That
well.
coffee break we're talking about.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
everyone.
guys so much. What an insightful
you.
session. Again, just thank you for your time and offering those coffee breaks with everyone. If you do want to connect with any of these guys, you can email me or Linda, and we'll make sure that you guys get connected. I also just wanted to say that if in any of these presentations we've come across another handout or something, I'm gonna speak with everyone and I'll collect all those and make a bundle for you guys. So if there's anything that needs to be handed out after, I'll make sure that it gets to everyone. So we have 5 minutes for a break. You guys can go grab some water, take a bathroom break, and we'll see you back at 3 o'clock for our last session. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Guys,
Thank you.
good night.
Take care.
Bye.
Have a great long weekend.
Bye.
Bye.